بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, my dear respected and viewers, we begin our lesson today by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue in commentary of Aqeedah Sanusiyyah. And may Allah make this lesson a reason where our sins are forgiven, our prayers are answered, inshallah. And may Allah bless us with iman and taqwa, and bless us in husnul khatimah, and gather us in our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam yawm al-qiyamah. Ameen ya rabbal alameen. In our last lesson, we have come into the, I believe, we have come into the end of speaking on the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the RationalProofs. But inshallah, before we continue with today's lesson, as usual, inshallah, we will do some revision. And this is a part that we will revise. And there is a question that was posted in the last week, which came after the class. Inshallah, I will answer that question. I do not want to answer certain questions in WhatsApp because certain things can be misunderstood. So it is better for me to explain in this manner. But before that, we will revise on the meaning of acquisition, kasab. So this is what the author mentioned. After he quoted the poem, "The power of the servant, and other than that are all creations of the all-powerful King." Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Basically, he's saying that everything is created by Allah. Our creations, our actions, are created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, he possesses acquisition, but he is by it he is legally responsible. And this is insan. That insan he possesses acquisition. By it he is legally responsible, and by it he is mukallaf, due to the fact that he has a will which is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So basically he is tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and yet he possesses no independent efficacy. That is known, and he is not able to give any effect. Allah is the one who gives any effect. But what he has is this acquisition, which is the meaning of kasab. So let me explain the meaning of kasab again. Let me explain the meaning of kasab again before we answer any question. When we say al-kasab in Aqeedah Ahlus Sunnah, we say al-kasab, we are speaking about the linkage between the power that is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in insan and the action of insan. So this link between the power that is created by Allah in insan, which becomes the means that insan is able to perform his actions. This is the meaning of acquisition, the meaning of kasab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created our actions, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the same time he created in us the ability. So when we intend to do a particular thing, a particular thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he created in us the ability, and Allah created by that ability actions. And this ability is not the one that gives effect to the action, but it is just a means. The one who gives any effect to the actions is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why we say that Allah is the creator of our actions, and we do not create our actions. So this linkage between the ability that is created by Allah in us and the action that is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this connection where that created ability and it becomes the means for that action, This is any the meaning any of kasab, which is what any the author is speaking about. So he said acquisition kasab is a connection. Now, so basically what I explain is exactly any what is he saying now. He said is the connection, and for those of you who have the book, underline any the word connection. So I use any the word any linkage connection, and it's about the same meaning. Is the connection of the contingent power. Type contingent power is the ability that Allah created in you. The strength any that Allah created in you. Yani, for example, yani you want to live any this cup. The strength is created any by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in you. The strength, the ability or the strength any that you or the power for you any to live any this cup. For you any to live any this. For you to live any this cup. At the same time, any Allah created any the action any of lifting this cup. So the connection any between the contingent any power and the action any itself, this is any the meaning any of kasab. Without there being an independent efficacy. So meaning we are saying that it is not the contingent power that gives effect to the action of lifting the cup, but Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is the one any who created the action of lifting any the cup. So in the Quran and there are many verses in the Quran. Anyway, our lesson any today any will be short. I'm also not feeling well any today. It's been 1 week. Make dua inshallah. Now I'm going back into what we are saying. There are verses in the Quran. For example, in the Quran Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala mentioned وَإِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى. Yani Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that it is not you yani who shoot ya Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it is Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala yani who shoot. Yani the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam yani in the battlefield, yani when he and in the battlefield and when the Muslims and when they fight the enemies and in the battlefield, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is telling us that wama ramaita iz ramaita, that it is not who you any who throw ya Muhammad, walakinna Allah rama, but outwardly and we see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the one who throw or the one who shoot, but that particular action is a creation of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So this is any the connection here, the ability and the power which is created any by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in insan, and the connection any to the creation any of that action with connection any to this any contingent any power. This is any the meaning any of kasab. So it is not this contingent power that gives effect any to the action, but it is Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who gives effect to the action. The contingent power any is just an asbab. I hope any by now any for those any who are following it is clear inshallah. Taib. In addition any to this, he said there is no efficacy within the conventional customary means. So I believe any last week any I spoke any about customary means, yani ahkamul ada. Ahkamul ada, as what any we mentioned, yani it is based any on experience and observation, and it can change. So for example, any we see water quenches, fire burns. This is based any on experience, based any on observation, that we always any observe that fire burns, that water any quenches. So this is any customary any means, and we say fire any burns, this part any of hukmul adi, that is it is based any on experience any and observation. So he said within any the conventional customary means, any an example, any fire has no effect in combustion, water has no effect in quenching thirst, a wall has no effect in providing shade. Any meaning these creations any they do not have any independent efficacy. That fire does not possess the ability to burn or the power any to burn within fire itself. Fire any do not have any this power any of combustion or power any of burning. But Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is the one who created combustion and burning. Likewise, any it is not water that quench any our thirst. Allah any is the one any who quench any our thirst. So when we consume any water yani is a means, any asbab, that by it Allah yani quench any our thirst, but it is not Allah is, we say that Allah is in need any of water to quench any our thirst, But it's a sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah created this world full of means and asbab, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to use the asbab. So there is a saying in Islam, we say al-akhdhu bil asbab wajibun wal i'timadu ala al-asbabi kufrun. To use the asbab is wajib, and in Islam, and if a person, for example, if he doesn't drink any water, he will die. For example, now drinking water becomes wajib for him. Drinking water becomes wajib for him. But al-i'timad ala al-asbab, that if you depend on the asbab, meaning you believe that the asbab is the one that gives any efficacy, that gives any effect, then this is kufr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Aqidah of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we say that customary means they do not, all the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give any effect. Only Allah gives effect. And this customary means is just asbab. So likewise, a wall has no effect in providing shade, a garment has no effect in covering, a knife has no effect in cutting. Our clothes that we wear. So we are not able to see, for example, in the color of our skin, due to the fact that the existence of this cloth. But actually it is not the cloth that covers you. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who covers you. This cloth is just a means. Likewise, the wall. The wall gives you shade. For example, Allah is the one who created the shade. It is not the wall. But Allah makes the wall as a reason that shade is in existence. A garment has no effect in covering. A knife has no effect in cutting. Like the story of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he wants to cut his son, the knife that can cut, but suddenly cannot function, because the action of cutting belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who created the act of cutting, not the knife. So the knife is an asbab. And no other causes or contingent things have effect, for there is no doer but Allah. So for those who have the kitab, underline this. For there is no doer but Allah. La fa'ila illallah. There is no one that can give any effect except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now we will come back to there is a question that was asked in the WhatsApp group last week. The question is asking, and this question is one of the common questions actually. Question is asking about the will of insan. We say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave insan the choice to obey him or not to obey him. So when insan makes any decision or choice to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the question is asking, is this any will, a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So this is basically the question. Type. To answer this question, first thing we must understand that everything is created by Allah. Everything is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your ability to make choices is given by Allah. Allah is one who give you the ability to make a choice. Otherwise you will not be able to make a choice. Everything is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Type, when it comes to insan, it is from the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah knew that a particular person will obey him. That he is going to create this particular person, and this particular person is going to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah brought him into existence, and Allah created in him abilities that by it he is able to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now when we say that he is a creation of Allah, his will is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his ability is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if a question a person asks, does it mean that he is false? Does it mean that he is false? Does it mean that Allah created your ability, Allah created your will, Allah created your existence? Allah brought you into existence. Does it mean that you are false? No. Allah knew before he brought you into existence that you are going to believe. He created faith in you when he brought you into existence. Allah knew that you are going to pray, that you are going to make the decision to pray. This is from the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to understand any this thing, and we have to differentiate between the attribute of al-ilm and the attribute of qudra and irada. So last time when we mentioned the attribute al-ilm, al-ilmu sifatun azaliyatun yankashifu biha jami'ul mawjudati wa ma'lumat. The knowledge any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, attribute any of knowledge is kashf. It is not something that gives effect. But when it comes to the power yani is the one that gives any effect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew before he created human beings, Allah knew that many human beings will not believe in him. That many human beings will not believe in him. Before he brought human beings into existence. Does it mean the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he knows that most people would not believe in him, does it mean that he is forcing them not to believe? The answer is no. Knowledge of Allah is not the thing that gives effect. Allah knew even before things exist. Before things exist, it is within the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what is the thing that gives the effect? The power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, qudra. So when we go back into the definitions of sifatul ilm and sifatul qudra, then this thing will be clear. Sifatul ilm is sifatul kashf, sifatul qudra is sifatul ijad and i'dam. So Allah knew that you are going to believe before he created you. And when he brought you into existence, he created in you faith. So you are not forced, but you are rewarded for your decision to believe. And this is within the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where he knows your decision that you are making. So we say insan is mukallaf, and insan is not forced, but is given the choice. And Allah gave us the ability to make choices. And Allah already knew the choices before he brought you into existence. And he wills, based on his knowledge. So now alhamdulillah, we have come into the end of speaking on the rational proofs of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we spoke about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the oneness of his attributes. We spoke about the oneness of his action. So basically the author is speaking about the oneness of the action of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he goes into speaking about the acquisited power that is kasab. This is the definition within the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. When we speak about the actions of insan, that in reality it is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how we explain that insan is not forced. So all this I hope it is clear inshallah. So today inshallah we will enter into this part where he said the rational proof that Allah is described with omnipotence. Omnipotence here meaning qudra, power, will, irada, knowledge, ilm, life, haya. So he said if any of these four qualitative and predicative attributes. So by now we understand in this term we have the qualitative and the sifat ma'ani, that is qudra, irada, ilm, haya. Predicative meaning kaunuhu qadiran, kaunuhu muridan, kaunuhu aliman, kaunuhu hayyan. If any of these four qualitative and predicative attributes were negated from him, or if any of their premises were negated, no contingent thing would exist, because it is impossible for there to be something dependent without something which it depends. Type. This is the thing that I will explain first, and before we go back to the kitab. What the author is saying is basically this. Let me give you a simple example. This cup. This is a creation. This is an creation. Type. This is in existence, and this cup is in existence. In order for this cup to be in existence, there must be power that brought it into existence. There must be something that brought it into existence, and power is involved. Otherwise, this cup cannot be in existence. So, for example, we ask who is the one who manufactured this cup? So we say so and so, Fulan bin Fulan, from this particular factory, for example. They invented this. They invented this cup. So it is a process of putting in efforts to make this cup. So now when we look at the sun and we look at the universe, so we say that this universe is in existence. It is a creation. It has a beginning, And the one who brought this universe into existence must possess power. Must possess any power. If we say that the one who brought this universe into existence does not possess qudra, now this is impossible. How can we say something is in existence without, and at the same time we are negating power from the one who brought it into existence? So it is impossible. So this is the rational proof to understand about the power of God, that the one who brought everything into existence must possess the attribute of, must have the attribute of power. This is point number one. Point number two is that not only power. This universe, when we look at this universe, the time of its existence, the size of its existence, the characteristics of its existence, the movement and the shape and the size, this requires will, takhsis, specification. So not only we say that the one who brought this universe into existence must have power, otherwise this universe cannot be in existence. But the universe is in existence. So it tells us the one who brought it into existence he possessed power, qudra. Point number two, that he possessed will, irada. He specifies the existence of these creations, that this universe is in existence at a particular time, and this particular sun is at a particular place, and the size of the sun is round, for example, or the size of the earth is larger than the moon. Who is the one who specifies these characteristics? The one who brought it into existence. So he must possess power and he must possess will. Point number two. Point number three, he must also possess knowledge, because it is impossible for him to bring all these things into existence, but yet he is ignorant about what he is going to create. It is impossible. So he must possess knowledge that encompass the things that he brought into existence. So this is point number three, that the one who brought this universe into existence must possess knowledge. So he must possess power, must possess will, must possess knowledge. So the one who is attributed with power, will, knowledge, must be living, al-hayy, al-haya, must possess the attribute of al-haya. So this is how we look at this argument. So now the author is saying, if any of these four qualitative and predicative attributes were negated from him, or if any of their premises were negated, no contingent thing would exist. Meaning, if you negate anything from these four, whether you negate, you say that God doesn't possess power, this is impossible. Or you say God doesn't possess will, but all these creations are specified. Or you say God does not possess knowledge, and how can he not possess knowledge when he brought everything into existence, and certainly he must know about the characteristics of his creation. And it is impossible to say that God doesn't possess any life, because if he doesn't possess life, how can he possess the power and the knowledge and the will? Then he mentioned no contingent thing would exist, because it is impossible. Because it is impossible. And if you negate any of these four things, four attributes, then nothing can exist. Nothing can exist. Why? Because it is impossible for there to be something dependent without something on which it depends. It is impossible for there to be something dependent without something on which it depends. So now we have the universe. That's what any example I gave. So the universe is a sign of the effects of the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is impossible to say that the universe is in existence, and that any existence is dependent on the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but yet we negate that power. So if we negate that power, then how can the effect of that power be in existence? So this is impossible. This is basically what he's saying. The existence of the universe is dependent upon a doer. The existence of the universe is dependent upon a doer, because the universe is contingent, and we have spoken this when we spoke about al-qidam, eternality. We spoke about the contingency of the universe, and we spoke about the pre-eternality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The existence of the universe is dependent upon the doer who is qualified with these attributes. So the one who brought the universe into existence, and he must possess any of these attributes. If omnipotence and he was negated, it will necessitate incapability. And one who is incapable cannot bring any contingent thing into being. Tamam? Now this is the premise. If one is incapable, and one who is incapable cannot bring any contingent thing into being, because bringing any contingent thing into being requires capability and power. If will and it was negated, specification would be negated. Yani, we cannot be saying that specification exists, but specification exists. For example, my color is brown. Another human being his color is white. His color is black. Who is the one who specify the color of your skin? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the meaning of specification, takhsis. Likewise, some people are tall, some people are short. Some people are strong, some people are weak, and so on and so forth. So all this is a result of specification. That Allah specifies in your existence, Allah specifies your color, your place and time, and that you exist, and so on and so forth. If knowledge was negated, all contingent things would be negated, because it is impossible to intend something unknown. Yani, you do not know what you are going to create. Impossible. Yani, the creator must possess any knowledge of the creations that he is going to bring into existence. If life was negated, all of these attributes will have been negated, because no life no will and no knowledge and no power, because everything is related to life. All of these attributes would not be negated, and no contingent thing would exist. Same thing. Direct observation proves that this is impossible, to negate the existence of contingent things. Why? Because based on observation. Based on observation. Now when we look at the universe, and we look at human beings, and we look at animals, we look at the sun, we look at the moon. This is the meaning of direct observation, al-mushahada. We are able to witness these realities. So it proves that it is impossible to negate the existence of contingent things. So if the negation of contingent things is proven false, the negation of any of these attributes is also proven false, and it follows that God must be described with this attribute. So I hope it is clear, inshallah. This is the argument, this syllogism in the form of syllogism that the author is speaking about. If negation of any of these attributes will result in the non-existence of contingent beings, and the fact that contingent beings are in existence, it shows then the attributes are what you call it, in existence, that God possess those attributes. Otherwise it will become impossible. So inshallah ta'ala we will stop here, because not because of time, but I'm not really feeling well today. But if you have any question, you can ask. Inshallah, next week we'll enter into the proof of hearing, sight, and speech. I think there's no more questions, right? Inshallah, I hope. Oh, there's a question here. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. I was introduced to the concept of kafir by design, where through Allah's will and power, some are made to be kafir. What is the view of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah? This is the same as what I mentioned earlier. The question is basically asking what I can understand from this question, that through Allah's will and power, there are some people who disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So basically it's the same thing. Now for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knew that there are people who will not believe in Him. Before He created human beings, it is within the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, within the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that there are people who will not believe. And this is mentioned in the Quran, for example. Wa aksarun nasi la yu'minun. Allah said in the Quran is qadim. The Quran is pre-eternal. It's kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah mentioned that most people will not believe. Most people and will not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taib. And the question now is, when we say that people do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say people do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are they forced into disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or they are not forced? So it is the same thing again and again, and we are saying they are not forced. How come? How come they are not forced? When it happens by the will of Allah, yes, it happens only by the will of Allah. It happens only by the creation of Allah, yes, and it happens only by the creation of Allah. But are they forced to disbelieve? No, they are not forced to disbelieve. How can this happen? Type Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave human beings any the ability to make choices, and Allah knew the choices and you make before He brought you into existence. So for example, Allah knew that Abu Jahl will not believe, or Abu Lahab. Allah knew that Abu Lahab and he will not believe. This is what He said in the Quran, Sayasla naran zata lahab, tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Yani Abu Lahab and he will not believe in Allah. Tamam? Abu Lahab, and this verse, and this surah, and he was sent, and he was alive. Abu Lahab, and he was in Makkah. So Allah said that Abu Lahab, and he will not believe. And in reality, and he died as a non-believer. Abu Lahab, and he will not any believe. Taib. Is Abu Lahab any forced any to disbelief? No. How can that be? Yani before Allah created Abu Lahab, Allah knew that Abu Lahab will not believe. And He created disbelief in Abu Lahab. So when Abu Lahab was in existence, he disbelieved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Taib. Will he be punished for his disbelief? Yes. This is based on his choice. That he is the one who doesn't want to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah knew this. Before He brought Abu Lahab into existence. And Allah wills it to happen. Now this is the meaning, and you have the will of Allah. He knew, and He wills it and it to happen. And He created disbelief in Abu Lahab, so Abu Lahab in disbelief. So at the end of the day, and we were saying that Abu Lahab and he chose to disbelief. Abu Lahab and he chose to disbelief, and he is responsible for his disbelief, and he will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what Allah mentioned in the Quran, for his disbelief. So I hope it is clear, inshallah. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.